a lot of people like Gary Vee peddles like no all hustle and it's not healthy. I'm like, look, I talk about sleeping 6-7 hours a day. I want everybody to sleep. I'm just curious about the other 16.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious about your 16 hours. I don't know. I'm programmed every minute. Like because I'm ambitious, because I want it. And so, you know, I'm struggling. There's a lot of 24-year-olds who've watched the entire season of Crown. And I'm just like, yo, if you're going to be a billionaire, like that's a bad idea. Like, you know, and like, totally. And they're dominant at Candy Crush, and they're in, like they're real Call of Duty gangsters, and like they've listened to like every new album the second it comes out. Like they're just spending a lot of time. And listen, you should have leisure, you should have escapism. You do you. Everybody's got different DNA. My big thing is like people complain and people talk shit. Yeah. And if you do either one of those two, I need to see you working. Yeah. and so you could be working 9 to 6, paying off your college debt. I'm just curious about what's happening 7:30 to midnight. And when I start looking at those 4.5, 5 hours, when I really get in deep and get to know a kid, or like if I have a real conversation, when I start hearing 2 of those 4.5 hours are being wasted times 5 days a week, times 7 days a week, in a world where I know what I did, and I also know what the people that I've seen be successful did, which is it's obsession. Yeah. It's every minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's 168 hours in a week, like you said.
Yeah. And I think also like growing up with immigrant parents, like Timur and I immigrated from Ukraine when we were 11, and seeing how hard our parents work, like they moved to a new country without knowing a word of English. My dad was working at a factory. My mom was like doing like, she was like working at like a various like maid roles, and
just cleaning fucking people's shit.
And they were working like 10, 12 hours a day, and then coming home and trying to like maintain a family. And I think just seeing that, and I know you talk a lot about your family and how hard you work. Just I think the whole mindset of like the immigrant mindset, I wish more people have adopted it and just kind of understood what it takes, how hard other people work.
My man, when you talk about entrepreneurship, immigrants have a ridiculous advantage because they know the alternative. If you're born in America, the richest fucking country in the world, even if you're not that good, you're still soft compared to the rest of the world. Like I have a lot of friends who grew up super humbly. Like I went to Mount Ida College, 90% of the college was African-American and Latino, and like some ghetto kids, right? Anyway, I just remember like, since the last 20 years, like just remember like how many times someone told me things like, man, I thought I grew up tough in Newark, but like I visited my family in like Haiti, or like, you know, or like I just think we lose perspective. And I think you're right. Like I didn't see my dad until I was 14 years old, even though he slept in the same home as me every night of my life. Wow. Because he left before I woke up and he came home after, and my mom didn't have a maid. My mom was the maid with 3 kids. Like my mom never had any help. We didn't have a baby. I was never watched by a babysitter in my entire life. Like we worked like real work. Yeah. And yeah, I think people are unbelievably soft to the ambition coming out of their mouth. You have to understand, if you tell me I don't want to work, I want to be on a softball team, I want to enjoy my weekends, I want to watch The Crown, I want to be good at fucking Angry Birds, I want to see my kids, I'm like, that's fucking great. That Mazel Tov, like amazing. And if you want to make between $50,000 and $250,000 a year, I think a lot of people can achieve that depending on their job. You start creeping into like 3, 4, 5, 600 land, you're going to be an executive somewhere, and they're going to expect you to work for $3, 4, 5, $600,000 a year.
100%.
You start talking shit out of your mouth that you're going to make $1 million. The fuck do you think that looks like?
Yep. Yeah.
Like there's no passive income.
It's all about adding value first. Once you show them enough value, then they'll come to you and offer you whatever you want to get.
Also, don't be fancy. Like, guess what? Like Slack doesn't give a fuck that you worked at Goldman Sachs.
Facts.
You know, so when you're making a switch, you got to start over and be humble. Like I'm trying to think of a good one. I had something recent last 2 or 3 years where I did something new, and I just actually probably the way I negotiated my K-Swiss deal, my K-Swiss sneaker deal, like I negotiated super humbly. Like I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't, even though I had all the leverage, I negotiated it like I was a first timer. VaynerMedia, even though I was this kind of emerging cool kid in the Web 2.0 tech world and knew Zucks and Travis and Ev, and was this like real thing, real. When I went to Madison Avenue, nobody gave a fuck. And I didn't walk out there and say, I'm here now. I ate shit for 3-4 years, stayed real quiet. And like, so I think that it's stunning to me. This is the problem with having it a certain way. Like if you were a great student and then you went to Penn and then you went to work at Wall Street and now you've decided you're miserable, which would make a lot of sense to me, right? Because for a lot of kids, once they've achieved some money, they're like, okay, that didn't fill me up actually, especially when they come from money. You know what's funny? This is a funny thing to say, especially given the context of today's day. I feel equally weird about rich kids getting into depression as I do non-white kids struggling with coming up from nothing. Like, we don't have empathy. I don't expect a black boy who's from welfare to feel bad for Thurston Thompson III, who has $1 million in his trust fund when he's 9. But I just know that like some of the most deeply depressed, struggling people I know had it so easy. Yep. Wake up at 30, are not happy, not fulfilled, have that weird life. They go to make that switch, but they don't have humility.
Yeah.
They're stuck. They've been built a certain way, so they don't have the ability. What people that deal with adversity do is they have a chip on their shoulder. They usually get too over angry, but they definitely have humility.
Yeah.
Because they were forced into I have unlimited humility. All my teachers told me I suck shit. Super hard to think you're great. So.
Yeah.
This is why I always talk about being young.
Yeah.
When I hang out with all you characters, you don't know, because I know when I was 20, how old are you? When I was 19, somebody 42 was like 1,000. Like when I started in my dad's business, my cousin was 30. I was 22. He was old as shit to me. I remember thinking like, oh, that's like some different shit. Like I'm a kid. That's like a grown up. So he sits here at 19, looks at me, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe like I've got a little bit more like street cred for a 42-year-old, but it's still 42. Yet I feel like we're friends. Like I look at him and I'm like, we're the same. Mm-hmm. And if kids knew that, I'll give you one. If guys knew that they should fucking shut their mouth, really work through their 20s, make no money the first 5 years, learn, really then do something, and all the things they want in 20s, girls, like closing the gap of their insecurities, clothes, bling, that the way to really do it is to eat shit from 20 to 30, build that foundation, then slowly start building something. When you're a 37-year-old guy, you can, guess what? In the dynamics in the world, you can date plenty of 25-year-old women if you choose to. It's not even looked frowned. It's not 60 and 20. Like you can do plenty of that stuff, but guys don't think like that. It's impatient. And so there's I just think most of the world's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah, if you live for the weekends, your shit is broken. Look, if your best moment is Friday afternoon, that means you hate your Monday through Friday. And people get mad at me again because they're like, Gary, fucking I look forward to the weekends. I love my family. It's not all about money. You're such an asshole. It's family. I'm like, no. You're not listening. If you are so unhappy, don't forget 168 hours, right? You're talking about 64, 60, you take in commuting, you could be in the ball, getting ready, commuting, working a little bit from home on email, you're talking about half. When it's all said and done, oh wait, I'm sorry, you take in sleeping, more than half it's actually not even close. You basically live to work. Mm-hmm. If you're unhappy, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, so I think about it a ton. Like if you're not happy, and by the way, everything I've just said for the last half an hour, if you're happy and agree with nothing I've said, well, you've won. I don't want to, who am I to judge? Let me just say this, and let this sink in and stick in your fucking brain for the rest of your life. There is no easy money.
Yeah.
Like the second you fucking go there, everything will change. Mm-hmm. There's no easy money. You might have had an easy money event, but there's no easy money.
Yeah.
There's nothing consistent.